I started to fall into that trap, that fallacy of thinking I'm a good artist rather than I'm making good art. And there's a very, very big difference. And if you do that, like 9 times out of 10, you'll get something.
Yeah.
It's not. Is this a splash art? No. But it's like, okay, well, it didn't exist before, and all it took was this blob.
Yeah.
And an intention, right? This one. First he had a...
Today it is Victor that is in the driver's seat, and I'll be here joining him. My name is Jonathan, and we are going to be looking back at your past, your decade of work, and this time from, I guess, the time just before you joined Riot Games.
2015 was the year I joined Riot Games.
All right.
So exactly.
Exactly 10 years of Riot Games, kind of following the development path of the work that you did, both for yourself, the personal, and also the professional work that you've done.
Seeing if we can draw some parallels or do some backseat driving on my head state at the time.
Yeah. And I think, I guess, like what the initial questions will be about, I guess that could be some about how you got the job. Like what was it in your portfolio that allowed you to engage with them at all and kind of like give you the first chance. I think that's something that would be interesting for people. But because one of the specific things that you were tasked with at Riot Games was, of course, to make the champion splash arts.
Right.
And you are actually going to be taking the lessons from that and teaching a course in that soon.
Wow, what a segue, Jonathan.
I'm here
Thank you, sir.
to support my man financially. So we have you're starting a class in
January.
Okay.
Yeah, so it starts, I think, January 31st.
Okay.
And this is basically the second iteration of the class that I taught this January. We gave it a different name because apparently splash art sells.
Okay.
But in all honesty, and I hope this will be illustrated by today's discussion, it encompasses sort of all of my knowledge and interest in various topics, whether it's splash, character design. I've also done animation, t-shirt design. Like all of it to me is of one piece.
Mm-hmm.
And I sort of use all the tricks I've learned along the way in everything that I do, no matter what it is. So even though it's called Iconic Splash Art, and that will be the focus, it can really just be about creating cool images, character-centric images.
I'm definitely excited for that.
And that's on underpaintacademy.com.
There will be a link in the description.
Oh, beautiful.
Right.
Thank you, sir.
So we're perfect. So I think to kind of like go before you were this, right?
Yes.
The iconic splash artist and also the designer of Victor in Arcane, your namesake. Not named after you specifically, but...
his is with a K, mine's with a C.
Okay,
so
perfect. So
legally distinct.
Legally distinct Victor, yeah. I think one thing that I'm definitely interested in, because I've known your work for a long time, obviously before I really got to know you, and that is, of course, this early work where you are, I guess you are still in could you just tell me about what is that you did kind of like leading up to
at the
2015?
beginning? Yeah. Let's do that.
Yeah.
So 2015, I'm graduating college. I went to Ringling College of Art and Design in Sarasota, Florida.
Okay.
Which was primarily known as a, what's it called? Computer animation school. That was their primary claim to fame. But they also had a pretty decent illustration program. And even though I started in animation, I ended up, obviously, as history would show, in illustration because I fell in love with painting. And by 2015, I actually had already done an internship at Riot.
Okay. Through the school?
No, through my roommate and best friend in school, Evening Montero, who introduced me to the game, introduced me to Riot. They were sort of gunning for the internship position, and I was visiting them during their internship, which was a year before mine, in California. And back then, I mean, Riot was... League of Legends looked like this, right?
Yeah.
It just was so bad. And I was like... And I was very confused. I was like, Evening, you are the person whose taste I admire the most out of maybe anybody I know. Like, why do you want to work for these people? And long story short, they were hiring tons of amazing artists and like revamping the entire game. Like the whole thing was going to transform within a matter of years. But I didn't know that. So I was like, why? What is this? What is this nonsense? Anyway, and then they even had me like participate in an art contest.
Okay.
This was made in 3 hours before the deadline. It was like you have to submit by midnight.
You finished.
So at
you
9
finished
at 9
okay,
p.m.
yeah,
we
okay.
start the painting, right?
This is not a 3-hour painting, no.
No, it is.
Okay.
It is.
It is a 3-hour.
Yes, I have the process right here. So a frantic. I mean, it's really quite rough when you
Okay.
get up close. And so I'm like looking at the roster of characters. They all look like ass, but I fall in love with this guy. I'm like, okay, this guy's kind of cute. It's like a derpy robot, shoots his fist out. Like I can get with that. So we make this, and you have to show them using an item. So this is Iceborne Gauntlet.
Okay.
Frozen.
Which
frozen
fist. Frozen fist.
Yeah. I think I put the rocket arm on the wrong arm. Anyway, so we do this art contest. I think I come in 3rd place.
Okay.
Or no. It was top 3 got like a Wacom product.
Okay.
And then, but they emailed me and they're like, okay, you didn't get a prize, but we'd love to like talk to you about this image, blah, blah, blah. And I don't think I ever responded to them. Long story short, I end up visiting Riot because I'm visiting evening.
Yeah.
And I find the lady who emailed me, Miss Pudding, I think was her username.
Yeah.
Whatever.
It's a cute name.
I don't know where I'm going with this. Point is, I discover Riot, and they introduced me to the artists, and they were scooping up Jason Chan.
Okay.
They had Secret Weapon Alex Flores. Nobody had ever heard of Alex Flores back then.
Yeah.
And they show me the Malphite splash, and I'm like, sweet God.
Yeah. Okay.
This is next level.
You want to be here.
Yeah. Because previously my goal had always been like I want to work for Magic.
Yeah.
I was painting stuff like this.
Yeah.
In late college, these were images that I was doing for like a classmate's, Kickstarter board game that they were making.
Mm-hmm.
And this was great practice because I was doing these in like 2 days, 3 days while I was taking classes over the summer, and it really sort of like solidified my desire to like do these card illustrations. And so I was doing stuff like this. I was doing stuff like this, which is at least in my opinion was very inspired by like Jesper Ising, very exaggerated push proportions. And the problem was it was at a time when Magic was becoming more serious, tonally, and that's not what I was interested in. Clearly from this image, like for me Magic is the big nose goblins, the goofy monsters, the esoteric magic, the weird characters. And so I was kind of sad. I was like, I feel like the magic that I'm working towards is slowly disappearing. And then I discovered splash art, which as far as I could tell, really focused on that type of exaggeration, whether it's anatomical or expressive or even story. It was just a lot more polished than what I was used to, right?
Yeah.
And so... I'm completely lost.
Well, we're still working towards the initial stage before you joined Riot Games, right? Because you're talking about what happened before.
The setup.
So I'm curious about, because obviously doing these in 2 days, like there's clearly shortcuts that were taken to manage that.
Yeah,
like
a
lot of the characters
if you look at this guy, he's nothing.
He's
one value.
It's a silhouette and quickly drawn in.
But there was moments, right? There was moments in each of them where I'm like, I see where this is going, and I see where I could take this further. This is literally the painting where I discovered the concept of temperature. Yeah. A warm light versus a cool rim light.
Okay.
Like,
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that's where we're at.
I have a similar painting for myself where it's like, oh, you can just do that?
That's crazy.
It's amazing.
Or like this little spotlight, right? Anyway, sorry. I'm like totally lost in the sauce.
And so when you were... And so you finished your college project, so you did the Little Prince as well. This is the project.
Yes.
Because this is what introduced me to your work specifically. This design project.
So yeah, it's kind of it's all over the place because we're technically starting in 2014. But basically, I make this kind of stuff. I visit Riot. They're like, hey, you should do an internship. And I'm like, bet. And then I end up doing an internship there, and that's where I paint this image.
Okay.
Based off of this design.
Okay.
So it's complete redesign.
Okay, but
I'm in way over my head.
Seeing the in-game model next to it is really always a treat with the League of Legends stuff.
And that summer, so that was the summer before my senior year where I did the internship.
Okay.
Was both the best and worst summer of my life in the sense where it was like just a complete. You're at a budding video game company. We were painting all day, gaming all night.
Mm.
I must have eaten $10,000 worth of pistachios. They had that sort of open kitchen situation, right? Since then, they no longer have pistachios, by the way.
Okay.
But
you ran down the pistachio.
It was putting a dent in the Riot budget.
It was him. Okay.
But I mean, this image kicked my ass up and down, completely shattered my very, very fragile college ego. And it's not the worst thing in the world, but if you examine it with any level of scrutiny or closeness, it is just terrible.
Can I ask you just about like what is it that you found? Because if you compare that to your previous work, right? Of like, because you did those like two-day paintings?
Yeah, I wasn't used to rendering something.
Yeah, okay,
right? Like I'd never spent that long. That's part of it, right? But I mean, I was hitting up against my artistic limits at every point. Like I didn't really know how light reacts on this thing that I'm having to redesign based off of this.
Yeah.
So it's really like a redesign exercise, a rendering exercise far beyond anywhere I'd ever taken something.
Mm-hmm.
The metal's all whack. I mean, I'm doing my best. I really am. But
can I ask you then, how much support did you get from the team?
Because
Tons. So there was support to get through it. Okay.
But I mean, that's part of it because it would go on to become my superpower, being able to absorb all that feedback.
Yeah.
But initially it felt deeply unnatural to have
10 people in
gigatitans sort of like showing you exactly where you're wrong.
Amazing though.
Yeah. Yeah, I got addicted to it.
Yeah.
But initially you have to like break yourself back down before you can build yourself back up. So it just annihilated me. The only reason this is like I'm even able to look at this is because the face is kind of good, and that's because Katie D'Souza painted it in like 3 seconds in front of me. After I spent a month like making these horrible aberrations, she was like, "Oh," and I was like, "Oh my god, this is like kind of gorgeous. Like, I really like this."
I think like that's one thing that I feel makes a company like Riot Games stand out, though, is that the art team is so collaborative in terms of like how much feedback there's, because that's like the common thing that I hear from every single person that I know who has worked on a Riot Games project, at least like when they're in the internal teams. Yes. When you're external, there's a bit less feedback.
I agree. Or it's not as...
But I think that's the case for any company, right? I mean, for me personally, I can, so if I'm getting personalized feedback from the art director that is like more than just, can you make this change? Like, I'm lucky.
And we'll get to that because I then became that person who was giving feedback. I was the feedback owner on a lot of projects.
No, put me back. Put me back.
And it was my pride and joy. But basically, like, to your point, I got a taste of that, and I was like, whatever's going on here is incredible. Yeah. The people who are willing to push each other, give each other honest feedback, are looking for that next level. They are constantly looking for that next level. I was completely addicted to it. But to take a quick segue back, after this, I was like destroyed. I like came back to school and I basically had like a full-blown depression. I was just like, because I'd just been playing video games all summer, neglecting my health, bad diet, and then the last domino to fall was like a breakup with my girlfriend, and then I just like completely fell apart. And
then you lost the structure of the job as well, and you kind of went back to school.
I was afraid I would lose the job too, because they're like, okay, you can do an art test while you're in college. That's when I did this one, the Gangplank one. But just a quick diversion. Yeah. So being utterly destroyed by this new product, Splash, which I'd never done before, and having to push an image this hard and realizing how much I didn't know, by the time I built myself back up, I did a complete 180 and wanted to do a whimsical character design, what's it called? Portfolio or final or...
For your final project.
Yeah, for my final project. So instead of like practicing Splash my senior year in preparation for the job that was more or less lined up for me, if I could demonstrate that I could do it, I was like, I can't do Splash right now. So I did a complete 180, worked on these guys, which, I still sort of like to this day. I think they capture my my penchant for like pushing shapes and character, and like I even stepped away from the computer where I was like doing all the sketches traditionally before painting them up in Photoshop, and this ended up landing me a job on D&D right before I started Riot.
Oh.
Because this is hopping around. It's gonna streamline. It's gonna streamline.
It's gonna get easier because once he's in the job, he's logged in. Like, don't worry, guys. So I do have a brief moment with D&D.
Yeah, but I do this, and this sort of is my ticket into Riot. Like I prove that I can do a splash. I do this while I'm at school, so I did do this on the side, right? And they're like, okay, cool, sweet. You've got the foreshortened gun. We've got the character, blah blah blah. But I also have this gig with D&D, so I'm like on my way to California, and literally 3 weeks before my start date at Riot, I do this like side quest of a D&D concept push at Wizards in Seattle right before starting Riot. And honestly, it was good and bad in the sense that like my dream had always been Wizards. I want to do Magic the Gathering illustrations, but the pay was and remains potentially not a livable wage,
unfortunately.
And so I was like, I sort of had to like let go of my dream of like, oh, I thought I was going to do this one thing, but I have to do this other thing. But this was sort of my my compromise. Like, okay, well, I get to spend 3 weeks there, hang out with all the people that, I knew everybody by name who works there. And like, who's this kid? I'm like, I've been obsessed with Wizards products for a decade. Like, that's why I'm doing illustration.
You're my hero. You're the reason I'm here.
And so I worked with Richard Witters and Mike Lim, who goes by Darkin. And we worked on Tomb of Annihilation. I had a blast. There was way more concepts than this, but this is what I found on my hard drive. And I remember the last week of the 3 weeks of the concept push, Chris Ron and Tyler Jacobson and Kieran Yanner were coming in town to do a concept push for Magic. And the way Wizards is laid out, it's a circular building. Half of it is D&D, half of it is Magic.
Oh.
So at lunch, I would just like walk over to the other side and hang out with them. And man, like those are like literally my heroes. Like two 3 of the top 5 Magic artists for me. And so I was like, I have to prove myself. And so I was busting stuff like this out in one day so that I could show Tyler.
Yeah.
Like, what do you think of this? And he was like, oh, okay, yeah, that's not bad, not bad.
Yeah.
Or this guy, right? Like this T-Rex filled with zombies.
I mean, this zombie T-Rex with a mouthful of zombies is iconic. They honestly, it's like like you think, oh no, it's gonna eat us, but it's like they're like, he got us too.
I love this frying pan.
Yeah,
that's a great little moment. Anyway, so I sort of mourned the path of going to work for Wizards and sort of like got to like close that chapter on my own terms. And then the Riot journey starts.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the backstory.
All right. So from school having this little cute. I mean, but you were on location for that period. That's also like
really, for this one.
That's amazing. That's an amazing opportunity.
So cool.
I mean, hanging out with people in person is just so different.
Yes.
Like I mean, I've only had a few times where I'm doing mostly remote work, and just the feeling of like actually being able to eat lunch with people.
Exactly.
Even if it's just the producers.
No, but that's where the magic happened, was during lunch. We would just talk about this and that and anything. It was amazing. The way I've laid this out, and we're not going to talk about all of this because that would be insane and very masturbatory. But once I started getting these together, I was like, wouldn't it be interesting to actually get like a really clear layout chronologically? Because it's always been this like vague, cloudy vision in my head, but I was curious how it would feel. And this sort of reveals to me that when I was joining Riot, like around, I think it was maybe August of 2015, that means I would have been 23 going on 24 years old. Yeah. And in my head, I was always like, oh, I think I joined Riot when I was like 21. You know what I mean? Like you never have a clear sense of like when and where and why. Yeah. So that's, I'm like, okay, so it's like, it hasn't been that long. It's been a long time, but it hasn't been that long. And you know, I'll say this as a disclaimer, like you can't get into Riot with something like this anymore. Those days are gone. Those days are long gone. In a way, it was a different time, a different company. You know, I knew a guy, I knew Evening. I got the chance to meet the team while they were still young and looking for new talent. I can't imagine how competitive it is now. So I'll be the first to acknowledge how lucky I was to get in the door. But once I did get in the door, I do think it's fair to say that there's a like notable jump in quality. Yeah. Because I subjected myself heart and soul to them. I was like, please, I am sponge. Yeah. Give me powers, I will absorb. Yeah. And so these are like sort of out of order. I did this one first, but it was released in December. These
Okay.
are the release dates.
Yeah.
And then I did Hecarim. And I mean, these were pushed far beyond anything I'd done before. I mean, the rendering on this dragon is still like probably the tightest render of anything I've ever done. Probably because I'm trying to prove myself.
Well, yeah,
right.
You just joined the company and you're like, okay, you come out swinging.
Yeah. Also, I mean, sort of, it's a funny story now, and I have no ill will towards this person, but one of my coworkers, I don't know if he was like playing a trick on me or just fucking me or what it was, but after one of the reviews, he comes up to me and he's like, "Hey man, like I was talking with the team and like they really think you haven't rendered this enough." It was like halfway through the process. And I was like, "Oh no, they gave me such positive feedback in the review, but behind my back, like they think I'm like not up to the task." And so I came in on the weekend, 3 weekends in a row, to like down to the pixel. I mean, I rendered like the reflections in this dragon's eyeball. You know what I mean? Like, and the pores on his nostrils. Like, I was horrified. I was horrified.
Well, yeah.
But to this day, I've never rendered anything near this anally.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, like,
but because like I've heard, I heard that because I mean there's evidence in the work when you just see it publicly, right? But that there's no, they don't necessarily want like they want it to be tight.
Yeah.
Which means like no
like, brush strokes, no visible brush strokes,
yeah.
Which is a little bit sad because again, coming from that place of the kid who wants to do magic cards, I like the traditional feel. Yeah. I think the brush strokes add something.
Yeah.
But that being said, like the push shapes, that's something that I was really into, like sort of the animation stylization.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think even though that there's like no brush strokes, I do think that some kinds of brush strokes, they do make it digital painting. Like the hard round brush and how it looks when it's not properly integrated.
Yeah.
Like
has a texture.
I definitely feel like that's like very digital, and I feel like the cleanliness of this is. But
like, this you won't find anything. I mean, it's all smoothed out.
Yeah, exactly.
Smoothed out like a baby's bottom. Yeah. I mean, down to the blade of grass, like you're not gonna find. Really, it's crazy.
Oh man, that is so mean.
And I'll just to show my self-awareness, I realize how freaky and cringe this face is. But in my defense, sort of in the same vein as like having to paint this from this, you have to remember that like we hadn't figured out how to paint Yordles back then.
Yeah.
Yordles were these like weird, they hadn't been really redesigned. Like now they're like sort of chibi and very cute. And I think you sort of paint their faces with the chibi stylization in mind.
Yeah.
But back then it was like, okay, make it realistic. I'm like, well, if you paint whatever the fuck this is realistically, this is kind of what it looks like.
Yeah.
And it's kind of nightmarish. But I think if you block the face out, like there's still a lot of things I appreciate about this painting.
But even then in the face, right? Like it's also a matter of like I think like because it's taken so seriously, the rendering, then that also kind of like takes it to another step where like it doesn't feel out of place. Instead, I mean, you definitely do look at the face a lot more because it's like. Oh,
but I have to imagine if you show this to a layman, to like the average person on the street who doesn't know what League of Legends is, they're gonna be like, "What the fuck is that?" Maybe I don't know.
The dragon for sure is.
The
cute.
dragon is sweet.
Yeah,
I think the dragon, I nailed it. Yeah. He's so cute. He looks like a pug.
Yeah.
And I love the skylight on the tongue. I mean, that's crazy. I guess that's what happens when you render out of sheer anxiety for your job.
When you show up every weekend.
Oh my God.
But it is a nice touch of the realism to always keep in mind. 'Cause, I mean, I feel like that's like one topic to really look for. It's like the free stuff that comes from just keeping in mind the atmosphere.
Yeah.
Right? Like of like the...
Especially skylight, right? You have it on her pants.
You have it through the wings, like the membranes showing up, but
the
you also have it
subsurface on the ear,
in the bounce light on her chin.
Yeah,
like it's like it's something where you can technically ignore it, and people won't mind necessarily. Like certainly won't mind, but if you do see it, then you can do a lot more like subtle rendering, where you don't have to do like a lot more to it to actually have this like full volume.
Yeah. And I think that was kind of a concession to the lighting scheme of this one, which is like they're basically backlit, which normally you wouldn't see any detail in that. Like if you went outside and your friend was backlit. And so as a concession to that, it gives me a really, really easy value group where I'm like, okay, well, they're in shadow and the background is light.
Yeah.
Easy. Okay, so that helps me out a lot because then I don't have to like negotiate a bunch of different things. And then to balance that out, since it is a super bright day, you would have like significant bounce light. So off the grass, So you get a little bit of the warmth and sometimes a little bit of the green. And that gives some of the interest in the shadows, right? And then the light is what's exposed. So that becomes like bleached.
Yeah.
But it's very different, for example, than this one, where this one like to this day, I think is one of the paintings that went the smoothest of any painting I've ever done.
Oh, cool.
Because I was able to basically just do like a full grayscale and then like overlay subtle color because he is basically gray.
Yeah.
Right? And then you can like sort of color dodge in a little bit of like dappled lighting in there.
Yeah.
And it's very harmonious and very tasteful. I think compared to a lot of my pieces where I go crazy with the saturation. And I really don't work that way anymore. It's very rare that I'll do that. But back then it makes a lot of sense. If you're trying to build up form, if you're trying to build up structure, start with the values, start with the grayscale, and then it came together so smooth because of that.
But I would say, I mean, my question to that will also be to, I mean, I think it's very difficult to develop proper, like full embodied lightning, like color.
Yeah.
Which when you start already from a grayscale.
Yeah.
But as like a place to actually, because I mean, in a sense, like if you're panicking and you really want the rendering to feel smooth, it's much faster to do that in a grayscale.
Well, and this one, to be fair, it's easy because it's almost monochromatic. It's basically green. He's like basically a super desaturated red brown, and I know that I have an accent color of red for his eyes and the subsurface on the birds. Right?
Yeah.
So I would not be able to do this if it was like, for example, this scene, which requires many more colors. This one I started in color, right?
Yeah.
So it kind of depends on the piece, but the result does speak for itself in the sense that like I was able to get like all this texture and stuff for free just by painting in grayscale, right? And that's something that might have been trickier in color. I'm not sure.
Nice.
So that's
the first year. First year of
now
Riot.
We're in December of 2015. Yeah.
So you moved to 2016, and so the way you structure this is you have the splash shots that are available, and then you have the personal work on the left.
Yeah.
All right.
So we can hop around however.
Okay.
You want, however it makes sense.
Because I think like if you can go to 2016 the Yorick painting.
Yeah.
Because I think that this one. I remember Zach, because I was like, wow, Victor, he got so good after joining Riot Games, and he was like, but he's just doing that for 2 months, and so and I was like, what? Because I mean, you saw my work. It's like at that time I was like, what? More than 3 hours on something? I'm not gonna bother with that. And so just this like the cleanliness of the rendering and how like that result comes out, but also how like you have such a vivid focal point and with like the light, the necklace that's like lighting her up. Like I really remember that I realized now I hadn't actually seen your other Riot Games stuff before, because I remember seeing your Little Prince stuff.
Yeah.
And then like I kind of like lost the connection with your work. And then you came back like a year later, like a year and a half later, doing this. I'm like,
this is a bit of a departure.
What happened to him?
Yeah. I contain multitudes.
Yeah, wow. Like that's like really because I feel like what I see when I see this kind of paintings is that like obviously these paintings are very long term, especially for the internal team, and you only did like if you zoom out a bit, it's there only like 4 or 5 in total for the project, right? Like it's the
for the year.
For the year,
yeah.
Right? Like,
you're looking at 4 splashes in 2016. So maybe I can speak to that a little bit.
Sure, do it. Yeah. Because that's what I'm curious about.
And I had an inkling that it was something like 4 or 5 splashes a year, and now that I've laid it out, it's closer to 3.
Yeah.
Right? Which sounds insane, and it is a little bit sad because I think especially when you're starting out, volume of work is super super important, but I think there's something like a context you have to keep in mind, which is this isn't all I was doing.
Of course, yeah.
Right? And I tried to include a little bit of that, like say in the 2017 slide, where I'm sort of showing you all of the art direction, paint overs, polish that I'm doing on other people's work. I don't have all of it here. Yeah. But the thing is, when we were doing these champion updates, like Yorick, for example, you update their entire catalog of skins. So they'll have anywhere from 3 to 10 to a dozen skin splashes that are super old, and you have to update all of them. So we have to hire outsourcers. I'm in charge of the base splash,
Okay.
but we need someone to do all the skins. And then when they're doing the skins, we need someone to art direct that. So in this case, we have this wonderful piece by Mike Azevedo, who was like one of our rock stars.
Yeah.
And so he did the
Amazing guy.
So nice.
Yeah, like the kindest.
Yeah.
Like
I'm super excited. I think I have a call with him tomorrow to catch up.
Oh my god. Can you tell him I love him?
I will.
Like,
I will absolutely.
I last met him like it's almost 10 years ago.
But you can put it on the screen, Mike Azevedo.
Mike Azevedo, incredible. Okay.
Who basically brought this art form to Brazil, like started a school there, and
got
a lot of great artists coming out of there now.
He's just doing fantastic work.
So real quick, he turns in Undertaker Yorick. It's 95% of the way there. But I do that final paint over, and I wish I had like a before and after written down so that I could explain. But you're sort of push and pulling the shapes, adding like a slight cinematic quality, maybe cleaning up some of the shapes. Again, because 90% of the illustration industry is not like micro rendering stuff like Riot does at the time. So we need to add that little extra polish.
Yeah.
So for example, I would do that. And then one day I might design the t-shirt for the Yorick team.
Okay.
Right? And so there's all these like side quests in between that will become apparent as I go down.
And so that's happening while you are doing that one painting.
Right, or in the time period between whatever September and the next splash.
Yeah.
And so with Warwick, for example, he had like a dozen skins and so same thing, like I'm art directing and doing final polish on these like I guess I didn't include the images I thought, but okay, so these were the ones I did final polish on, these three. But along the way, you're doing, to your point, like what you were saying, you're doing feedback, and I was doing paint overs, right?
Yeah.
Which is not always, or maybe rarely, what your art director is going to do. Usually they're going to write you a little something. But I was doing full paint overs, right? So you can imagine those are like full day paint overs of like, and then explaining, blah, 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 because we had this really high quality bar we're trying to hit. Yeah. So you need to go really into detail of like...
You need to give artists a lot of support to do that,
Yeah, or like I'm explaining like, oh, like we need this to be like a horror feeling, so you need to use horror lighting. So either he's backlit and it's a scary silhouette, or it's that flashlight sort of lighting, and that's like horror coded, right? Anyway, so even though it looks like I made, like 5 paintings in 3 years, it's like, okay, I'm doing those, but I'm also sort of overlooking, along with my teammates, of course, Josh Smith and Jessica Oyenhart, I'm overlooking these entire roster updates. I'm art directing splashes. I'm polishing hundreds of other people's splashes. Yeah. So I'm constantly practicing that muscle of like, feedback. Directing and polishing images, like the beginning and the end. Without having to do so much of the meat in the middle, which is honestly probably where I'm weakest. Because that's something where like if I had done more paintings, I would have more experience doing the middle part. But I was very good at like directing, thumbnailing, and then polishing. Okay. Because that's what I was practicing all the time.
That's like that was the nature of the job that kind of like pushed you towards that. Because like if you're doing the final polish for the artist, then that also means that you get to kind of figure out, okay, what is the last
5%,
which can sometimes be like another week of work, right? It's not just like I feel like when you are when like the final polish stages of a big painting, I feel like what it usually ends up happening is that you discover something that you could not in any shape or form
before you get to that point.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about like your Warwick painting, because I remember like we had an hour discussing the process, which is we also recorded, and this is also on the channel.
Link
in the description. But basically, when you looked at the process of that, there's also like a lot of different stages where, in a sense, like the design is still being discovered throughout the whole process, and so I could imagine that since you do the sketching and then you do like the final touch, that part of the actual discovery of what is the painting itself, that is what you feel is what is kind of like being what you didn't get to practice during the work hours. Is that something you would agree on?
Sorry, can you rephrase that?
If you just got to do the sketching and you also did all the polish, like you have the final, like, hey, this is what we need to do to finish this thing up.
You need to do something from start to finish to experience the ugly phase, to experience building up form, to figure out anatomy, figure out lighting, figure out color, right? Like it's much harder, much harder to make a piece start to finish than just to do the beginning or the end.
Yeah.
To be clear.
Yeah.
Right? Like I'm swooping in and like, you know, I felt like a rock star for like salt baying the thing at the end, but it's like they did all the hard work.
Yeah.
Now I get to play with these like sort of raw, not raw, but like, and not unfinished per se, but like a phenomenal artist has taken this as far as they can, and now I get to play with it.
Yeah.
And times 20, like it was sort of an incredible and unique place to be. But I didn't get as much mileage doing my own stuff, which is ultimately pretty important, I would say.
Yeah.
But it was insane. And you have to imagine that, you know, young shonen competitive Victor is absolutely measuring himself up against, this is Izzy, this is, I think, Mist, this is Mike Azevedo, this is Jessica Oyenhart, like fucking titans. And I'm like, mine has to, at the very least, be able to hang with these, if not be better.
Yeah.
Right? And so it was high pressure, like a lot of like intensity, a lot of like pushing myself, but also like, a lot of pressure. And sometimes I would buckle under that. And then in the case of Urgot, for example, like I was also on the design team.
Yeah.
That's something people might not know, is like before these, when these are getting updates, like obviously you have to update the design. So for a couple months during the year, maybe not in July, maybe like between Warwick and Galio, you can imagine there's a couple months where I'm designing Urgot.
Yeah.
And then he comes down the pipe and now we need the final splash, right?
Yeah.
So there's all these things sort of overlapping. So it's not like I was literally spending 3 months per splash.
Yeah.
But then that time is also, because I feel like there's a conversation that's always kind of had where it's easier to do good work in a professional setting because you get support, but also because you get dictated, right? Like in a not necessarily in the dictator way, but
for example, the pillars, right? I always talk about the pillars. Like, this is Urgot. He has to be visionary anarchist, augmented abomination, spider tank.
Yeah.
And we spent a lot of time landing on these. These are not the first ideas on the board.
Yeah.
This is a workshopped, surgical decision where like, okay, this is the product we're making. And so in that sense, your bounding box is ideally very clear.
Yeah.
And we did this because we knew what the alternative was like. When it was just a complete mess, you don't know what you're making, we're not in agreement, we're not in alignment, and that's when things go to shit. And so we learned the hard way, like, okay, we have to focus up, we need these design pillars, we need to have a clear direction, and that leads to a good product. Whereas in the past, when we've been more loosey-goosey, you have stuff like my 2016 year was insane. It was so rough, like, and this is no shade to the team because I love the team and we were trying new things and we were a young team. But for example, Thresh, they were designing this while I was painting it.
Yeah.
That's bad.
Yeah.
That's not a good idea because his design was constantly changing. I had to repaint things a million times. I completely lost morale, completely lost momentum. You know, if they change the colors, God forbid, like then I have to change the entire piece. So I burnt out super hard on Thresh. I was very frustrated.
Did then add in kind of, my assumption here is that you then complained, or like that they could obviously see that you were affected, and then they actually put in guardrails, because I assume that the 3 pillars as a concept came out not of a, hey, this would be a good idea, but like we have to do this.
We have to.
Yeah. Okay.
Otherwise, it's very costly.
Yeah.
And to be fair, like Thresh was particularly experimental, where we're like, what if we designed a legendary skin based off of like the things we discover along the way that excite us? Like on paper, I'm like, I'm cool with that level of experimentation, and it's pretty rare to be on a team that's willing to do that.
Yeah.
So I don't want to poo-poo on that. It's just the reality on the tail end of me trying to create a finished asset of a moving target was completely nightmarish for me.
But I think that's like the end of it, right? Because as an illustrator, you are at the last point of leverage when it comes to the production of any given piece.
You can imagine it like when they make a movie, then there's the marketing team.
Yeah.
Splash is the marketing team for whatever the character is. Like we're at the end and we are making the definitive interpretation of it that we're then going to use to sell to the public. And so if you don't have a product by then well, how the fuck are you supposed to market it?
Yeah.
And then it was back-to-back fiascos with Thresh, and I think this might have even been before Thresh. Yeah, okay, so they have me paint this before Thresh, and then they pause it. I do Thresh, and then I come back to it. Because for this one, it was a group splash with 5 characters. It was the world champions, SKT world champions, and this was their design with the red jerseys. And again, to Riot's credit, they show this on the PBE, which is like the beta environment, like the pre-release basically, and they get a bunch of feedback that it looks like ass, like that the players are not happy with it.
Okay.
The players it's supposed to represent are not happy with it. And so they do a full redesign of their outfits. They remove this character, they replace it with this character, and they add a 6th character. And I was like, you have to be joking me, right? Again, I'm what, 25? I'm 25 years old. I'm not entirely emotionally mature.
Sorry, I'm just imagining the whole situation play out and like not easily in several different corporate meetings.
And I'm like, okay, so you changed their jerseys from red to blue. Guess what? My lighting was blue. So now I have blue characters wearing blue clothes in a blue lighting. This is the worst painting I've made for Riot Games, right? And it's not close. But I would argue that it's maybe not entirely my fault.
Right.
All of this to say, like, I was very, very frustrated with the skins team at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And so imagine my relief
Yeah.
and my elation when I switched over to the Champion Update team, which is dealing with the core IP of the game, which is fundamentally fantasy or fantasy adjacent.
Yeah.
Which is my shit.
Yeah.
I'm trying to paint fantasy stuff.
Like,
And a couple months ago, you have me painting fucking,
Space
esports headsets
yeah.
on like a cyber rooster. I was like, what happened?
Yeah.
How did we get here?
Like, I think there's such a real feeling. Like I'm living through like my own professional traumas in your words. Like it's just like the feeling of being like feeling hoodwinked.
Yeah.
Of like,
it's like, wait a minute.
Hey kid, you want to do some fantasy creatures, and then like you're like, why am I painting this?
And I had to trick myself. I was like, okay, pretend you're like, okay, well I'm painting a cool alligator monster over here, and this is like, I can pretend this is a minotaur, right? I was like gaslighting myself.
Isn't he a minotaur?
He is.
Okay, yeah.
Even though he's wearing aviator or glasses or whatever. So I was sort of like gaslighting myself into trying to imagine how this could possibly be a fantasy painting.
Oh, he's holding the trophy on him.
He has the trophy.
I was okay, so he's wearing that.
Yeah.
Okay, because
But moving on, I'm not going to keep this on screen. I hate it. So then I get to do this.
Yeah.
And I think you can visibly, palpably feel how much I'm in a better place here.
Yeah.
How I'm back in my groove. And this is like the most fun I've had doing a splash since Hecarim, which is also, for all intents and purposes, a nature centaur, very magic adjacent, right? So, okay, we're so back. Like, I do this guy, we're so back. And then after that, it's Warwick, which is a werewolf.
Yeah.
Again, loving it. Galio, which is a fucking awesome, like, 100-foot tall gargoyle made of, like, castle walls. I'm like, yes,
of course,
let's go. We're having a great time. Then it's fucking Urgot. Had a blast with this composition, right? Like, imagining this whole, like, Godfather-esque mob boss who's also just being workshopped because he's half machine, but he's like drowning this guy in the background, and this is like one of the old mafia bosses, and his insignia is being tattooed on his arm because he's getting
the territory.
Yeah, he's getting like the like trophies for all of the other mob bosses that he's taking out.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm in my shit.
So all those tattoos are meant to represent his
other
gang.
Canberrans.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Okay.
And like this guy's covered in tattoos that are all Easter eggs of something or another. I mean, like, I'm just having a blast. Like, this is like what I was put here to do.
I think also just like seeing the designs as well from the design projects itself. Like it feels like that there was really a lot of like a possibility to actually make a big change and shift where like, because I see some of those like ideas that are there which are definitely
they're very different.
Very different than what comes out. But then
and in hindsight, I'm like, I think they were being nice. No, like, let me put it a different way. Like, they were being nice, letting me play with it. Like, I think the team respected me a lot, but I was definitely more of like an illustration guy. Like, if you look at these, like, look at this round brush speed painting. You can never model this, right? Or like, it all falls apart under any sort of scrutiny. Yeah. Whereas like someone has to model this at the end of the day, right? Yeah. And so I was good at procuring vibes, but someone had to go in behind me and like actually design the damn thing. And that was I think it was Larry Ray on this one. And so I'm not saying that they discounted my opinion, not at all. Like, they were very, very complimentary and nice, and there was a lot of respect for the splash artists, which was like sometimes like, yo, but we respect you guys, the designers, and blah blah. But all of this to say, like, it's cool that they let me play with it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And that they saw some value in this, even though this didn't directly turn out to be the design.
Yeah.
And I show this also because I think it's an important through line when I talk about like how I'm not just a splash artist. Like, I clearly have this thing where I jump around between design, illustration, design. I'm always sort of like going back and forth because it keeps the process fresh for me.
And so when you joined the character update team,
Yeah.
then did you have like a kind of, because you're doing the design work as well in this case, so you felt like over the year you got more and more responsibilities as well because you were responsible.
It's not an additional responsibility.
Okay.
It's like you can think of it as a chapter.
Okay.
So like there's like a 2-month block somewhere here between these two.
Okay.
Because they're not exactly back to back.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Between
yeah.
January and March you have a long time.
Yeah, of course.
So it's like it's more of like a slot of time.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not necessarily a responsibility.
Yeah.
Per se.
And then it moves on from there because like now you have the pillars in play, and so that becomes, I feel like when I see the ideas of like the pillar, I definitely can see that being something that cuts down arguments between
It
team,
creates
like,
alignment.
yeah, because I mean, like, okay, if spider tank is a central idea,
You
then
need to see the legs.
You need to see, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, there's no arguing that, right?
And I feel like that kind of like,
and it helps with the thumbnails, right? Like, because I have these thumbnails here, and I think they're quite fun, but not all of them are successful implementations of these.
Yeah.
And so it really helps.
I definitely feel like the final splash shot that you arrived at definitely has this very clear feeling of the Cam Baron, of like this person who is obviously completely insane to go through all this modification, but also just how threatening he is, because it's like the way that we are kind of placed in the room, it's like we're both kind of elevated to look directly at him, but it definitely feels like he is in control in a very real way.
And that was something I really enjoyed investigating, and it's kind of funny to me in hindsight. Like, I think it's something we talked about during the Warwick video.
Yeah,
just like, okay, you can't show blood. I'm literally like showing a guy getting drowned. You know, like, which one's worse?
The censorship.
Which one's worse, man?
I feel like I have like a 15-minute rant about censorship, but I'll spare you.
Yeah, the rules don't always make sense, but that's true of a lot of things in life. So then the following year we have Swain, which by all accounts, and I can get into it or not, was like sort of a catastrophic failure for me.
Okay.
In proportion to how excited I was to work on him.
Okay.
I think you can see my excitement in the design, pre-production, and spoiler images that I worked on.
Yeah.
Where I was like, the vibes on this guy, like, I wanted him to be Game of Thrones as fuck.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, this is my Tywin.
Yeah.
This is my Tywin Lannister. Like, I want him to be the coolest Darth Vader Tywin Lannister of all time.
Yeah.
And by that metric, the splash was such a wet fart. And I can sort of get into it later, but luckily for me, I had a big win with Pyke right after, which is sort of like, okay, we're back. Yeah. That was kind of scary. I don't know what happened with Swain, but okay, we're back. And Pyke was like an absolute blast, in large part because I got a very, very exciting idea from Jason Chan for the splash, which is like he tied all the captains to their chairs and sank the boat, and now they drowned. And he's undead, so he doesn't give a shit.
Okay.
Like he like Jason just said that at dinner.
Yeah.
And I was like, I just ran back to my desk and started painting it. I was like, that's the coolest shit I've ever heard. And without that idea, I'd be painting one of these, which is like, okay, we've seen this.
Yeah.
This is the guy who's jumping at you. He's the jump scare fucking murder clown.
Yeah.
And it would just not be the same image.
I do have this vivid memory of the drawing.
Oh yeah, reference photo
to that department. There's this recording of Jason Chan, like they did like this like 30-minute speed painting challenge, all of them together.
Yeah.
And like he finished this like Dream Devour thing, and it's like this lady in this tentacle thing.
Yeah.
And it's like, in hindsight, when I look at it now, I'm like, okay, like I can see like how he got there with kind of like the decision making he did. But there's this really funny quote from the guy who's running the show coming up, like, and from Jason, we'll need a pea sample, because it's like, you're obviously on art still.
Yeah, he is on a different
really
level.
good. No, he's so good.
He's so good at pulling in the right ingredients. He has the vocabulary of film, of anime, of comics, and he can take. He's so good at identifying the cool essence of each and
Yeah.
bringing that in. That's something I really admire with him.
Because I mean, like, if you look at the thumbnails back to back, going down, right? This one is super compelling,
Yeah.
even if it's like barely in barely finished compared to, I mean, coming out of the water like a scary fish,
Yeah.
almost.
Yeah.
I
I mean, there's an idea there. It's like
Yeah,
I was like,
yeah.
if I can capture that feeling of like those slow-mo videos of a great white shark.
yeah, coming out,
breaching.
and, yeah,
I was like, that's kind of cool. There's something there, but it's just not the same. It's just an action shot, and there's nothing wrong with an action shot.
Yeah.
And Splash loves an action shot. But me, I mean, as you can sort of tell from the Urgot piece, I was looking for those like storytelling images. Like I really wanted to get as much lore and mood and world building in there as I could possibly squeeze into every inch and corner.
yeah,
And so I'm so happy. I'm so happy that Jason shared that idea with me.
yeah.
Aatrox, Aatrox ended up good, but it did not start good.
Okay.
Um,
Well, could you describe like what is it about the project that made it difficult to then start with? Was it something about like the pillars were not clear, or
No, it's
just
not.
the idea?
It's not that. I think this whole year, 2018, was like a weird year for me, and I
Mhm.
think that bears out in maybe some of the personal art as well.
Mm-hmm.
But I was flying back and forth between LA and San Francisco because my girlfriend at the time
Oh,
had moved
okay.
up there for a job, and I literally felt like I was half of a person.
Because you're just
Half of me was up there, half of me was down there.
okay. Yeah.
It's hard enough, like making a living in Los Angeles, but
Yeah.
being spread between two of the most expensive cities in the world,
yeah.
taking a flight every other weekend, you don't have weekends to rest.
Yeah.
I was stretched really thin, and it started to show in my work. On top of that, I think it was my reckoning in terms of ego,
Mm-hmm.
because I had had a couple of hits back
Yeah.
to back. Like Warwick, Galio, Urgot, for the most part, were really well received as images.
Yeah.
That I started to fall into that trap, that fallacy of thinking I'm a good artist rather
Mhm.
than I'm making good art. And there's
Yeah.
a very, very big difference. And prior to this, I think I had done a good job of avoiding that trap and even being aware of that trap. But when it came to Swain, I was like, I'm a good artist. If I make this, it will be good by virtue of me making it.
Mm-hmm.
And I made bad decision after bad decision after bad decision. I forced it and I bashed my head against the wall and I made a mediocre image.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a million things I could do to make it better and more interesting. So I'm dealing with ego stuff. I'm dealing with moving back and forth. And I'm pretty sure, I think there's been enough time has elapsed, but like halfway through this one, like I tried psychedelics for the first time.
Okay.
Don't do that when you're in the middle of a painting. I think it actually ended up helping more than hurting because I sort of like got to like zoom out and realize that I was doing all this ego shit.
Yeah.
And so, whatever, we have like a month and a half for these paintings. It had been 90% of the time had elapsed and this painting was looking like complete dog shit. I come back post-trip and I'm like, what happened? What happened? I make a game plan with Josh. He like sits me down. He's like, okay, we need this for the perspective. We need this for the anatomy. We need to consolidate the light. Go. I literally repainted it in 3 days.
Oof.
Like once you have clarity,
Yeah.
it goes quick.
Yeah.
But I was completely lost in the sauce, completely lost in like ego juice, whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
So again, weird place.
Oh yeah. I mean,
Nunu, again, I sort of like...
we just moving on. Okay, good.
I sort of like feel like I'm dropping the ball again because I have so much time with these characters. Sometimes I'm part of the design team on these characters, right? Same with Nunu. I did like a paint over on the design. Most of it was Julian Del Rey. I'll be the first to say that. But
Yeah.
they usually would tag me in for like a pass on
Yeah.
it, right? And so I sort of came up with like these more Miyazaki shapes and this more like flower sacky character because he used to look more like a bear, like
Yeah.
anatomically like a bear. And I was like, I think he should look like a plushie, right? Because
Yeah.
it's like a kid's imaginary friend or real friend.
Okay.
Anyway, so I'm spending so much time with these characters that over months, both in design and in illustration, that I become very attached to these projects. Like,
Yeah.
it is a double-edged blade where like it's hard to imagine like, wow, you spent a month on a painting. It's like, yeah, but I'm spending a month with a character that I'm like empathizing with, that I'm like trying to get to the essence of, that I'm genuinely trying to like paint a compelling painting of. Like it's more than a splash to me, right?
I would also pin a number of that, is that you're not alone with the painting,
Yeah,
right?
I'm
Like
with the whole team.
You're with a team
The team is looking to me to like deliver on this thing
Yeah.
that they've spent months creating.
Yeah.
Like the splash is the cherry on top. They're
Yeah.
like they're hoping that they can like show the cake to the world, right?
Yeah.
And so there were times where I sort of like crumbled under that pressure where it's like, is it a bad image? No, but is it like, does it deliver on all of the joy and whimsy that we felt making him?
Yeah.
I don't think so. I really regret not doing this one. Snowball fight.
Yeah.
One has a small snowball, one has
Yeah.
a big snowball. You get it. It's Calvin and Hobbes.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
cute as fuck.
Yeah.
Sometimes I would like sort of talk myself into doing something needlessly complicated. And this is
Mm.
another just blue on blue
Okay.
nightmare.
Yeah. But I think it's also just a matter of like, when I'm seeing that, when that first thumbnail compared to the one that was chosen with the showing kind of like a dream image.
Yeah. There's a different energy too, just in the drawing itself.
Yeah, and what I also when I think about is like, there's something about like the staging of things where like this image, it kind of because like I think like one thing that's really like the tenet of the splash art team is like we need to have like this like very wide space, but this is actually a quite intimate scene.
Yeah.
And so when I look at this like vast horizon with a tower and the nebula, I almost feel like, oh, like this was pushed to be vast when it almost in a way like if this was the one that was chosen by the team,
It should be like a cave or like a
shrink it
nook.
in so that it's really just like, hey, we're just two bodies here chilling, but now they're actually out in the open, exposed.
Yeah, it's fighting
like,
itself a little bit.
Yeah, and so it's yeah, that's the thing, like it's fighting itself in like how the visuals like go, because like I think that this is sweet, right? The center of the image, and then all of this around it kind of exposes a different idea.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. I mean, there's a million things I would change about this. I do like the stylization of the boy. I feel like I learned my lesson, right?
Yeah.
When you compare this to
Justina.
Tristana,
Yeah.
the nightmare.
Tristana? Okay.
Tristana, yeah, the fucking nightmare furry.
Did she change the design later? I guess someone came up
Yeah,
with it.
like now I feel like they've got a good handle on how to pick them. But I feel like this is a really nice stylization and simplification of a child's face, which could have easily in different hands looked like this horrible uncanny valley nightmare.
Yeah.
So I am quite proud of that. I love his oversized gloves and all his like chunky fur.
Yeah.
And I love this little magical effect. I like that on Nunu's fur I have it sort of doing this like crystalline, what's it called? Ice flake effect. So there's like little things, but overall the structure of the image just could have been a lot stronger.
Yeah.
And then finally we crashed the plane.
Okay.
I think this was around November, December. I'm supposed to start a collab with Jessica Oyenhart on Kale and Morgana.
Yeah.
I have just enough in me to like make these thumbnails, and I'm like, guys, I'm tapping out. Like I'm literally like a wreck of a person. I need to go home, have my mom's cooking, and rethink my life. You know what I mean? Like I'm struggling. And these are cool, like, but I was just like, yeah, I don't know. I was just falling apart as a person. I think it was just the culmination of
all of
the
this
flying back and forth and the emotional ups and downs and the ego death and everything in between.
Yeah.
I was like, guys, I'm out.
Right.
So that's 2018. And then 2019,
you brought into the Arcane project.
Yeah, I sort of get tagged in. And so I knew while I was working on these, because it takes a long time to transition from one team to another. They're like, okay, you're going to go join Arcane at some undetermined time during this year. Until then, you need to still do splashes.
Yeah.
With that knowledge, with that freedom of knowing I was leaving, I felt a weight lifted off of me.
Mm-hmm.
And I was able to like close it out in a reasonable manner.
Mm-hmm.
I really like how Silas came out, and with the exception of one like sort of crucial decision, I generally like how Shako came out.
Yeah.
But the one thing I would change is like the entire, and I can't believe I didn't catch this at the time, and maybe we've talked about it before, but the entire point of this image is that he's supposed to be tearing like a Looney Tunes hole out of time and space.
Yeah.
And appearing out of nowhere. But I make this mistake again. I've made it so many times now, which is like space is dark, the hole is dark, he is dark. There is no contrast. There's fundamentally no contrast. Whereas in the thumbnail, it was like this very vibrant, colorful universe, and you could sort of make out the black hole graphically very clearly.
Yeah.
So pretty big image making mistake, but in terms of like rendering, I think it's very playful. Like I love what's happening on this handle. I love like whatever the fuck smoke effects are going on up here, his freaky little spectral teeth. Like I was having fun at least, and I was like putting clowns in every nook and corner of
That's
the.
cute.
Like there's one here.
Oh, yeah, that's fun.
So-
Yeah. I think one thing with the when I see this kind of like when you say like it's kind of like became more and more bright, like I mean I'm now it's so far away in 7 years, right? Like it's since you made this, but I feel like this can happen quite easily.
Yeah.
Where you have like a very strong read, and then you get a bit of art direction feedback, and you get a bit more art
You
direction
lose it.
feedback, and you're like, wait, but the original intention,
There was a reason.
there was a reason. But and it's like sometimes it can be difficult to actually fight for that unless you have a good reason.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't necessarily do much work that is like illustration faced. So to me, I'm like, there's the war and there's the battle, and sometimes you just have to give up the battle to stay in the war of production.
But at the end of the day, you know, like, it's fine. It's not the end of the world. I see clearly now what I would do different. That's also a good feeling. It's a feeling of growth. But I'm like, cool, here's your space clown of my least favorite skin line because of how abstract the designs are and impossible to paint they are, which I learned the hard way from Thresh. Somehow ended up doing another Dark Star one for my last one. Didn't learn my lesson there either.
Yeah.
But then I get to
Arcane.
jump into Arcane. And now I'm like, it's a whole different ball game, a whole new universe, and I feel like I'm back to having like a lot of fun here.
Yeah.
Right?
And your responsibilities in Arcane was to do mostly the character design?
Character design, yeah. This was the first concept I did, I think the first week I was on the production. It was like some kids in Echo's hideout.
Cool.
They ended up not getting used, but I think they appear on the wall of dead children. So there you go.
Sorry, just the way you presented each piece of information. It's like...
Sorry, guys.
They appear on the... Yeah.
They didn't make it.
Wow. Yeah.
But, I mean, it's so fun, so varied. Like, one day I'm doing Chem Barons. The next day I'm doing, like, a key art or, like, masks or a statue or the logo on a barrel. You know what I mean? Like, it was so fun and stimulating after what felt like years of just, like, dragging myself through these hyper detailed splash images and all the pressure that came with that. So having a lot of fun. 2020 COVID hits, fucking sucks. You did not want to be in LA during COVID. You're paying LA rent without any of the access to the city. It became extremely apparent how lame it was to be stuck there. But yeah, more Arcane stuff. I don't know exactly what I made in 2019 versus 2020 versus 2021.
No.
But it's the 3 years of Arcane.
Yeah.
Right. So tons of stuff. Vice Tattoo, more Chem Baron stuff, tarot cards. And then the big ones the last year were Mbessa and Victor.
But you had like a long time to make those, it seems, because like the designs are a lot more polished.
It's sort of like the splash years where it's not like you have like a month to do it. It's like, okay, you're working on it a little bit, then they pause it because they change the script, and then you come back to it. Now they have more information, and you realize they're going to be in this scene, so they need this kind of cape because they have a moment where they have to like switch the cape. You know what I mean? Like, it's not linear.
The director has a new idea.
We're switching the cape.
Wait, no, the cape is gone. The cape is gone.
No, they're like, no cape. I was like, yes, cape. This man needs a cape. I fought for the cape. I was like, Fortiche, whatever you're doing, save money in your budget for the cape.
Yeah.
Yeah, the cape is right there in the initial sketch. It was always the plan.
It's always the plan. Yeah, because I mean, I think like the Arcane, the Victor splashes in themselves, like they definitely feel like very loved. In terms of like the final, like I remember when we were watching it together, the release.
Oh my god!
And how you were like just doing your best to keep your mouth shut.
I was waiting for this moment.
Yeah.
Where his face splits. I was like, and I can't believe how they did it. It looks so great in the show.
Yeah, like, cause just like and then I mean the discussion afterwards where you were like, yeah, I told them to save all the money.
And then he shows up for like, I don't know, 30 seconds in the final episode, but it was worth it for me.
But I feel like the build up is so intense though that it really like comes off. Like I mean, like
but I wanted this. I wanted the final battle on top of the hex gates between him and Jace. Like I wanted a full anime fight where like Victor shoots off a laser and it like cuts half of Piltover in half or some shit. You know,
like this is. I mean, I think this is like an epic piece, definitely. Like I feel like this kind of like keyframe. It's
I didn't paint this, by the way. This is one of the backgrounds, and I just drew these guys.
Okay.
Just to be clear.
Okay, but when I see this kind of idea, I feel like this is the kind of stuff that if you're not careful, you will have the script rewritten at the last moment to fit these kind of things in.
Yeah.
We're like, oh, I like this idea so much, I put it back in the script. You go, no.
Yeah.
It's already.
No, and I love what they did. Like, I love what they did with
No, I
their story. But I was secretly
Mm.
hoping for this, even
Mm.
though Arcane honestly should just have been a story about Vi and Jinx. But I love that. I mean, these two were my favorites. So
I do feel like, because like you didn't even know what they had done with it, because you hadn't worked on it.
I
for
left
so long.
before they finished the
Yeah,
show.
so it's also
I
a
didn't even
surprise.
know what would happen in the last episode.
Yeah.
But I had done explorations on Victor's army and him going full Messiah and all that stuff.
Yeah,
It was a good time.
and all the variations of different stuff and the
Yeah.
tattoos and
Mel's
graphics.
magic and
Wow, it's really nice though. Like, I feel like it's always weird to see like I mean, I wish I could do this with one of the things I worked on. Like
yeah.
like,
Well, so that's now we're getting into
yeah,
this
the-
area, right? Like,
this would be my board.
Yeah. NDA.
It's like
NDA.
just 10 years of that.
No, I mean that's what happens. Like, and that's something I really enjoyed about Splash is that we would
how-
finish it, they would send it out the next day.
Dude,
It was public,
like,
which
this
was
is the-
nerve
the
wracking.
biggest thing about the fucking Riot Games thing, where like, I feel like one of the reasons why there's so much competition to get in Riot Games is not just that the team is exceptional, it is that you get to show your work.
That's right.
Like, the fact that when Arcane came out, it was like, okay, we have 2 weeks after, all right, let's just make a book and let's make a art blast. Let's have everyone show up with their work and everyone just quickly to share. It was like basically like 4 weeks in a row where everyone was just sharing something new they had done on Arcane every day.
Yeah.
And that level of transparency, like, I mean, like when I don't work for Disney, where like I'm like, can I show this? And it's like no, and this is that's just the end of the line.
Yeah.
And so all the
End of
designs that are
discussion.
not final are like in a vault, and so if you're not involved in the final stretch of the image, you don't even get to show the background work.
Right.
And that's like
That
so
was. I mean, that
the
was.
transparency is just amazing. That's like what I really feel.
I am very grateful for that. I think initially they only allowed us to share the final
Yeah.
images. So like for Finn, let's say this one, and only after like a certain amount of time had passed, a year or 6 months or whatever, then you can show the concepts, which makes sense because
Mhm.
initially you do want it to be like this one cohesive vision, and you want people to experience the world as it was made, and then after the fact, the people who are still interested and still
Mm.
scavenging for little crumbs like will appreciate some of the stuff that didn't make it right. But I think their strategy made sense overall. But even holding on to some of these concepts for like 2 or 3 years felt like an eternity,
Yeah.
right? Because if I'm making it in 2019, it I think it went out in 2021,
Yeah.
and then the stuff I made for season 2 didn't come out until what 2024.
Yeah.
So I mean, you're still waiting a long time.
Yeah. But at least it comes out.
At least it comes out. Yeah, no complaints there. no
I mean,
complaints there.
like, and then you left Riot. After
So
that.
yeah, so after early 2022, I decide to leave Riot. I decide if I don't leave Riot, I'm going to be there for the rest of my life
Okay.
because it's a nice job, well-paying, good team, sunny California.
Yeah.
But I can feel that something in me remains unexpressed, or like I need to like go out there and live some kind of adventure. So I leave Riot. That year. So that
Let's talk about the personal work.
yeah. So that year, I told myself I was going to take a year off
Mm-hmm.
for myself to make personal work. But it ended up being a very, very strange year. The day I left Riot on February whatever, Russia invades Ukraine.
Yeah.
Immediately, it feels like the world has a different texture.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, we just got out of COVID. Like, let's all band together, guys. The human race. Like, can we have peace on Earth? War. Boom.
Yeah.
And like, oh, wow. Okay, that feels really some type of way. And
Yeah.
so I was like, kind of bummed out about that. Then I did a couple months of like, okay, I need to like not paint for a couple months and play all the video games that I haven't played. So I played like Ghost of Tsushima for like a month.
Wow.
Right.
Yeah.
Then I'm like slowly starting to reintroduce drawing back in. So I'm like, okay, like let's eat our vegetables. I'm gonna do some figure studies. I got into doing like portrait studies for fun. There's a lot of characters from Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. I proved to myself that I could do like, this is a fan piece, but that I could do a magic, quote unquote, a magic illustration.
Mm-hmm.
And again, this I did it in like, I think 5 days. And I was like, okay, could I make a faster image after all these years of like having months looking at an image?
Mm-hmm.
Do I still have that like mercenary drive in me to make a reasonable image in a short amount of time?
Yeah.
So that was a huge win for me, like sort of spiritually. And then, I don't know if you remember, but this is 2022, this new thing comes out called AI.
Yeah.
And this is what it looked like back then. It was this beautiful, horrible dream machine that would create vibes that you desperately wanted to investigate, and then as soon as you looked into it, it just completely dissolved into chaos. And all of us were playing with it. And all of us had feelings about it. Is this the next thing? Is this replacing us? Like, look at this machine that can create infinite complexity at the click of a button. All of the initial emotions that we had around AI were around this time. And it was right when I had quit my job and I was sitting there playing video games and feeling depressed about the war. And then this fucking robot art machine comes out. And I'm like, do I love this? Do I hate this? What is even the purpose of me trying to make a magnum opus if anyone can make art with a click of a button?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sort of like going through it. I'm sort of going through it at this time. And, I'm still, doing studies and little drawings here and there, but nothing amounts to anything. And within a couple months, I realized that me just sitting on my ass, I'm just going to get really depressed.
Yeah.
So I ended up getting invited to Copenhagen by Esben.
Yeah.
And that's the first time I came here.
Lucky me, though.
And that's when I was doing like a workshop at IO.
Mm-hmm.
So we had this like action-packed, 2 or 3 weeks with Jesper and Lorenzo, and
wow,
it was
nice.
a whole blast. And I had promised myself I wouldn't take on freelance, but in this case I was like, oh my god, Jesper Icing, I have to meet him. And it was a blast. So I did that. Went to Copenhagen. Went to France to see my parents, and then I came back, and finally, the thing that I was hoping would come out came out, and in a completely different format than I had ever expected.
Okay.
I start the year thinking I'm gonna make the next Muka's Slav epic.
Yeah.
20-foot painting, the most detailed, ornate, golden embroidery you've ever seen, blah, blah, blah. I come back home after being in France and taking photos of my favorite hike, and I make this improvised mixed media comic.
Yeah.
Where every day for a month, I think it was November, I take a photo, like just a photo that I took on the hike, and I basically have this miniature hand-drawn character going on an adventure.
It's so sweet.
And I have no idea where it's going. I haven't written out the story or anything.
Mm-hmm.
And sort of the funny thing that happens after doing this for a month, so I have 30 images,
So cute.
is that I realize how, after I'm done, I realize that it's basically an autobiographical account of how my year went.
Oh.
You have, because basically what you have is, sorry, it's taking forever. You have this guy who is leaving the comfort of home,
Yeah.
Riot, to go on an adventure.
Uh-huh.
And at first, he's having fun. He's feeding bread to the birds. He's exploring nature, and all that stuff. But then, the goblins steal his bag, right? Conflict. Yeah. So he's chasing the goblin. Hey, give me back my bag. Like, I need that. Blah blah blah. And while he's chasing the goblin, he accidentally steps on a troll. And the troll wakes up, and he's like, "I'm gonna fuck you up." And this was fun because since I was
What a cool image though. Like no, it's really fun, this one, yeah.
What was fun is like I realized since I was only posting one of these a day and I was starting to have people sort of invested in the story, like, I wonder what's happening in the next panel, is halfway through I decided to kind of fuck with them. So I have the troll like coming up on him and you have the shadow, and then the next panel was just this. And they were like, "You killed him! You killed the little guy!" And I was like, psych, rack focus. He's just been beat up and he happens to be walking through a cemetery. So I did kind of get to play with the audience a little bit.
Yeah.
And that was fun. Then he has this dark night of the soul, rock bottom. But then the next day he wakes up, he finds a cape, he finds an armor from this unlucky warrior who was fighting a troll. And finally he finds a sword, right, his weapon. And he ascends into, super anime, badass godhood. He can slay any troll in his path. He can go beyond the moon and stars into the universe, blah, blah, blah. Or so he thinks, right? These illusions of grandeur. But then when it comes time to finally face the troll and defeat his enemy, he realizes that the troll was just protecting his own little baby troll. And that his enemy wasn't who he thought he was, and that he needed to look within to see what he's really about.
Okay.
And from here, he finds harmony with nature and all the things that interest him in the unknown. And he comes back into harmony with the whole ecosystem. And then finally sheds all of this this armor and this identity of needing to be this super anime knight, and goes back to just being a goofy little boy.
Wow.
And so I didn't know while I was making it, but I was basically telling my story through this sort of makeshift comic. And so it's not the beautiful, impressive portfolio painting I thought it was going to be, but it was sort of this beautiful little thing that just came out.
This is so delightful, though.
Thanks, man.
Like, I mean, I feel like this is the kind of work that is a necessary piece to have, not for necessary jobs and prospects, but like this thing of like, you make something that you don't know what it's actually gonna do for you and what it actually means to you until you've actually worked on it for a long time, because then at the end you go, oh, this is about me. I'm drawing me.
Yeah.
And it's like
this whole time.
I mean, I did definitely a lot of times in my own life where I worked on something for like 6 months and I'm like, hang on, is this just autobiographical?
Yeah. Oops. I'm just bearing my soul to the whole world in a very intimate way.
Yeah.
But that's the beauty of it. But that's kind of why I returned to this thesis of like, make lots of work and figure out what it means later. Don't be so concerned with like, what does this mean? What is this for? How can I sell this? Just make it. Just make shit, because then you can go back and then you'll see the patterns. Then you'll see the periods where you're making a lot of like sort of emo art, or like you're exploring anatomy, or you're drawing birthday cards for your friends, or okay, well this year is like more colorful, or this year I returned to like, the games I played as a kid. Like you can see those patterns in retrospect, but you shouldn't be pathologizing those while you make them. You should just shut up and make them, right?
It's also like, you can always discover the meaning later. Yeah. Like, I feel there's definitely a moment when I'm doing, when I'm working on paintings for myself, like, where I have an intention, and that intention is going towards one point. But when I actually see the final painting, I discover something new, because the intention is like, I'm going out to search. Yeah. But the painting is something that you can actually look into. It's like it's like a little window dressing where you kind of like, you can see all the work you put into it, all the effort. Yeah. And then you kind of look at it and you go, oh. And it's the proof of your effort, the proof of the evidence of your work. And it's like, there's nothing like I think like the idea of like proof of effort and all the work, right? I mean, that's we talked about like why I hang all my paintings on the wall behind me, my personal work at least. I can show on camera, else it'll be a lot bigger. Then I feel like the idea of like coming in every day and being like, I have the proof that I've done all this work. I'll get some water for you. Thanks. That I have the proof of all the effort that I've already made, because we talked about this before we started recording, of like, oh, I've never seen a timeline of all my work all at once, like, and just like also because like there's a lot more invisible effort that's not here, right? That is like impossible to kind of like, I mean, all the sketchbooks you would have to photograph and all this like. And so
this is just what I could find.
It's like it's what floats above, right? And it goes above the sea line. I don't know.
No, I get what you're saying.
I'm not going for an iceberg metaphor here. Yeah. I think it's just the
part you can see above the water.
Yeah, but like it's also like what is the record that you actually keep. Yeah. Because I have just so many paper sketches that are like, oh yeah, I just shred them. And then that's it. I don't think about them anymore. But like when you see all this final work, which a lot of these are final pieces, like that is a lot. Yeah. of continuous effort.
And each of these final pieces, has hundreds of layers of different explorations that you'll never see. So it's just like,
because you
this is
wouldn't
just
want
the
to
artifact.
save that. Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't actually capture like the days spent exploring, the curiosities you had, the struggles you had,
the conversations,
the
that you had to lead up to that discovery as well.
Totally.
Yeah, because if you go further now, I mean, so now from 2022, it's so pretty much everything is
NDA.
Confidential to a large extent.
I have some stuff that went live. Like I got to spend 1 month at TheoryCraft working on one of their characters, Void. Is that what he's called? I think he's called Void. That was really
he looks
fun.
very Void coded.
Yes, he is. And that was super fun because I got to work with Josh again, who was my colleague on the Champion Update team, and then he went to go work at TheoryCraft. So awesome linking back up with Josh. And it's also when I made my first Magic card, which is crazy. Like, what is it? 2023. And so the reason I included this is like because that was the dream, 8 years prior. And so this, I don't know if this is like it's never too late kind of moment, right? And this was right before I moved to Copenhagen, like the week before I moved to Copenhagen. I snuck that in and then started work at IO, right?
That doesn't sound stressful at all.
Yeah, it was very stressful. And then I also
moving from LA to Copenhagen next week.
Bro, it was crazy. But then I also did this like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Magic card. All of this to say like I'm starting to like trickle them in.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna see if I can do more in the future.
Yeah, and then you did the big epic.
Yes.
The big commanders. 20 most popular commanders.
The top 30 CEDH commanders, which means competitive EDH commanders. And this was cool because this is me coming back after a long break of paternity leave. Because 2025 is the year I had my son. This year is the year I had my son. And he's turned my life completely upside down in all of the best possible ways. Like, it's just absolutely incredible. But after 3 months of, not touching a pencil, I was like, I wonder if I still remember how to draw. And so I opened this ginormous canvas and was like, what if I did a group piece with, 20 to 30 different characters? That should be an easy segue back into drawing, right? But it ended up being this awesome thing where I worked on it 1 hour every day for a month, and I worked on one character a day for a month. And so it's sort of this proof to me, at least in the last 4 years, is I'm seeing a pattern, which is prior to that, I have these chaotic clusters of drawings and then long periods of not doing personal work, and it's very, very inconsistent. And sort of the greatest things I've made in the last couple of years, whether it's Petit, which is a 30 panel comic, or in 2024 where I did 20 or 30 acrylic miniature paintings on artist proofs, it's the thing you do every day. That's the thing where you get some feedback from yourself over the long run. And so this was the same thing. It's like, okay, a little bit of effort every day yields a larger result.
Yeah.
That would have, like, prior in my life would have completely crushed me to attempt something like this because I would try to do too much all at once. But just one day at a time, and then you get like a really fun little situation.
When I see this, I really feel like also that's a sign of like the growth of you as an artist, right? Because like this is an immense painting, and I feel like when you see something like this, it's very easy to go like, wow, that looks like so much work.
Yeah.
But in the way of what you say, right? It's like 1 hour a day that is dedicated, and then of course you are already skilled, but it's like the commitment of like working on it for that period of time and saying, okay, I'm just gonna continue working on it, even if like there's, I don't know, like I don't know, you don't have the process necessarily available for it.
I do have some process actually. Yeah, because I remember thinking like maybe this could be a thing where I do a class or provide materials or whatever, and I haven't finished sort of working on it, but I did keep the artifacts because it's useful for me too, because I feel like I forget my own process
same
constantly. And so I'm like, okay, here's how you do it, Vic. You have to like first poop out a turd, then you give it a vague shape, then you sort of spruce it up, then you do your tight line work, then you do your flats, then you do your shadow pass, and then you do your post-processing, right?
Right.
And if you do that like 9 times out of 10, you'll get something.
Yeah.
It's not, is this a splash art? No. But it's like, okay, well, it didn't exist before, and all it took was this blob and an intention, right? This one. first he had a club, then he had a barrel, then I changed his posture from being pot belly to like a hunched back, and
Yeah.
but whatever, like just shit it out and then just get started. Just start painting, man. Like stop talking.
I think it's the most important thing is to keep the thumbnail and the loose sketch.
I love those.
Like
It's ridiculous.
Like I collect these. Like
okay, this looks crazy, but what does it tell me? It tells me it has 2 wings and he has a necklace with a ring on it, and that carries through the entire thing. And like you don't really see the ring at the end, but it's there.
Yeah.
It's like okay, it's just a note. It's a note to self, and that, or like this one. This one changed completely. She looked like she's parkouring as I'm drawing her.
Yeah. Amazing. Yeah.
But you can't get something like this unless you first let go and just make those little scribbles.
Can I ask you about the chef guy and the frog? Like, was that an idea you found while you were working on it?
That was from the beginning. I knew I was gonna have that interaction because it's like probably the most important compositional line in the entire thing.
Yeah, I was thinking about it. Like because
I have the spear going into the tongue, and then from here I have like the leather strap going into the trident.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of like leading lines, and then at the bottom is the lightning.
There's a lot of force leading to the blind woman.
Yeah.
And then she pushes the whole, and then the goblin and the dog, they push it upwards, so you get this like very free feeling forward.
Yeah, I kind of messed up where I painted it this way, but in my opinion, it probably reads better flipped. I don't remember how you flip in. Is it shift? Alt?
I will.
There we go.
Okay.
I think it feels a little bit better this way as a Western audience because we read left to right.
Yeah. I think it changes like the feeling of like this is like you feel like you're looking at a parade.
Yeah. Which I think is kind of what I wanted.
Yeah.
The other way it feels very heavy and
they're coming
like,
to attack. Yeah.
So this is probably how I intended it. The only reason I can't flip it because most of these characters are symmetrical except for one where she literally only has one arm. So if I flip it, it's incorrect. Like everybody becomes left or right-handed accordingly. But
yeah. I think this is engagement farming, right? You go like, oh no, this character is actually left-handed. Like, oh, thank you for boosting.
Yeah. I literally remember having that thought. I'm like, I hope people correct me.
But also, I feel like sometimes when you have a try to scale, it's like very easy to kind of get stuck in, like you forget a detail and then you will find out later. Like, because I mean, like the whole doing this little small studies that you're doing now. Like because you did these on the left as well. I remember like
these
where you just like
had a cloud phase. I saw I think it was one of the Fortiche artists post a time lapse of him painting clouds, and I was like, I have to try that. It looks so nice.
Yeah,
like poofy clouds.
This is so clouds. Copenhagen coded.
Yeah. These are literally clouds I saw on my walks.
Yeah, this is the sport area, right?
Yeah,
you walk there.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's such a nice. Just having all this empty green for all the runners.
It's so nice. Then I played Baldur's Gate while Enzo was very young. That was like my little video game era. I watched Invincible and Boys season 4 and realized they have like the same characters. So I thought I didn't finish that. Yeah, that would be fun to include some of the unfinished stuff as well. 2024, it was funny. Like I went to an art event, ROI, and got super inspired by all the artists there. They're like, I do daily studies, and I was like, cool. I got 5 sketches in, and then my wrist like imploded, and I was like, okay, I can't do that on top of a full-time job.
Okay. I feel like so now we have the kind of like the total 10 years in a very rough stage, right? Like obviously there's 4 years that are kind of like very loose because of industry restrictions. Obviously there's a lot of stuff about health. And also process, and I'm kind of like, because obviously now you've done these like long format paintings.
When you talk about a decade, you do sort of see what is required for longevity.
Yeah.
Because what works on a 2-year time horizon doesn't necessarily work on a 10-year time horizon. And I feel like the fact that I'm still doing this is proof that whatever I'm doing, whether or not it's adequate by some random standard, means that I still get to play the game of illustrating as a career.
Yeah. I mean, just like the health aspect of like how you treat the project and how you treat your own work and your own worth, I feel is really important. Like just I mean, I definitely have in 6 months periods burned through like 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 you build up this like nice structure and you
Yeah.
burn it up and like, oh yeah, I'm doing really well, I should do something ambitious, like
Yeah, yeah.
adding extra things to your already busy day, and like, oh,
Yes.
I can do this, it's just 1 hour more a day, and then that kind of like derails the plan. Like I feel like there's a really big aspect of doing art long term where you get used to a cadence, like this is what I'm doing every day.
Yeah.
I feel like I could do more, because there's this pressure of like, oh, you should do more, right?
Yeah. The pressure is always there.
Aren't you gonna prove yourself? Are you gonna show up on the weekends to
Yeah.
do more? And I feel like there's this feeling of, because that's happening, as like this like background noise of like, oh, you really should be doing more. You end up taking something that's working for you, that's solid, and then ruining it by adding these extra few elements. And I feel like
It's a delicate balancing act, for sure.
because I wanted to ask you about, how do you feel about, because now you had these like long stretches of like doing consistent work, and how you kind of reacted to changing your schedule, because because every time you kind of talk about burnout or something else happening,
Yeah.
like it seems like there was more in the picture than just the work alone that actually made you tune out.
Yeah, I mean, just the reality of life, right? Like, you're not gonna have the same output year to year because you don't have the same life year to year.
Yeah.
There was years I could push it 110%. Like, I think towards the beginning, right? I mean, I could have filled 2015 with hundreds more images because I was in school. I was a student. I had no responsibilities. I was doing lunch sketches every day with the team because I'm motivated, passionate, learning, blah, blah. And then there's years where it's like, there's nothing. Because what? Because I'm doing an international move. And in a country where, like, I mean, you guys speak English, but in a, you know, where everything's in Danish, I have to get everything translated by Esben. And so it's just like, your reality is super different year to year. And it is my experience that it shakes out in the end.
Yeah.
Like, the pressure is always there. You're going to answer it when you can. And when you can't, like, it's kind of a wash. It's like, there was probably a good reason, right? Like, I mean, don't stay small for no reason. But it's also like, yeah, you can't always be pushing. And you will push when you can, because I think all of us, I fundamentally believe that. Like, all of us, like, if you're an artist, it's because you're someone who pushes. You're someone who's curious. You're someone who needs to answer this call. And so try not to, like, sweat it. You're going to do that anyway.
Yeah. Like it's already built into your profession.
Yeah.
Like,
and we're going to, and unlike other jobs, we're trying to do this until the day we die.
That's the thing. It's like you, like, I feel it's an odd thing to kind of like recognize. I mean, because obviously, like, when you were talking about the whole AI images and how these things are changing, like, to me, I'm like, yeah, but I know that this is a weird industry to work in, like, by making images and working on these things and making these things happen. But I still feel very compelled by the idea of, like, I'm gonna make art till my last moment, basically.
Yeah. That's why I'm here.
Like
that's why we're here.
And I feel that
AI doesn't change that any more than, like, any other sort of existential threat does. There's any number of things that could completely end our lives at any moment.
But I feel like one thing that kind of comes out of like the people, like, who are like, oh, do me about AI images, is that,
and they have good reason to, like, it's a fucking terrible situation.
But like, the feeling is that it's not the images alone that make up the reason why you hire an artist to do those things.
Yeah.
Like, if you bring me on a project, I bring a lot of knowledge about how certain things are made, that are specific to the world. So when I'm in a discussion, I can help shape the project by making the right decisions.
Yeah.
The artwork,
or the right observations.
Yeah, exactly. Like, the artwork that I make for the project is the goal, right? We want the images that are compelling and great. But it was in the 30-minute meeting with my director I had every day for the last 2 weeks that we basically discovered what is the important pieces of the project and what is not. And so in those conversations, they then brought that on to the team that then helped shape these things further. And what I feel is, is kind of missing from that equation of like, oh, like you want a final image. Like, that's not
the whole product of who you are.
it's not the whole point.
Yeah.
Like, I mean,
And to your point, like you talk to your director, you talk to your human director
Yeah,
over
yeah.
months, you have a relationship, right? I feel like the end state of all this AI shit is like, okay, well, if you want to replace me with AI, then you can talk to your AI, have your AI make images, and you can make some AI viewers for your AI slop. Like what are you trying to exist in some sort of weird vacuum? Like, the reason we do this is like, the reason I've done this for a decade is because I fucking loved being in conversation and sitting next to Alex Flores, Jason Chan, Esben Rasmussen, Evening Montero. Like, it's, for me, it's the relationships. These are just
Yeah.
artifacts of my effort,
Yeah.
but they also chronicle these connections that I made with people. These people that I respect, that I love, that whose process I'm trying to incorporate into my own, whose very existence like melds with mine by virtue of us existing in the same place at the same time. Like, that's what's beautiful, and that's what I'm left with at the end of the day. These are just JPEGs. You know what I mean?
Exactly, and I feel like they are also the thing that you are almost least involved in all of these things, because going from the sketch to the final, if you go back to the commander sketches
Yeah.
you had, like, this is the final result of a whole month of effort, right? Like, and probably more than 30 hours, because you're also thinking about it when you're not working on
Yeah.
it necessarily. But if you go to the sketches of what you did to get there, all the way to the final point, that is the actual work.
Yeah.
To make the decision, to make the right corresponding thing of like making these things fit together, make them feel believable, make them feel right.
You know what's fun too is like each of these steps is a part of you that people will never see. They see the final, so they're used to associating you with the final. This is something I learned over the years. Like, people think of me as this.
Right.
They're like, oh my god, Victor's so good. It's like,
And he is.
no, bro. Like, I'm this at
Yeah.
my core. I'm this, and then if I iterate on that, I can
Yeah.
get to this, and if I iterate on that, I can get to this, and then if I finagle that and really focus hard and redraw it 3 times, I can get to this, and then I can make these decisions. But it's like all of this is me. You just see this.
Yeah. I think that's also a really important piece, I feel, of the whole like artificial images and kind of like having these things in, because there's the process of getting that final image, which is not really what the artist at all is involved in at all. And so I feel like the final images, we already have peak painting.
Yeah.
Like, there's already way more painting than will ever be needed by society in a really big way.
Yeah, that you would never get through all of it.
And so, and now we have an automated machine that just does it.
I'm afraid of it drowning out the real stuff with garbage, because the real stuff is beautiful, but you need to be able to find it. And so if it just gets drowned out, it's just like we lose access to our own culture, our own history.
I do feel that that's also like, I feel like that's what I'm more concerned about, is
It's so
like
annoying.
this kind of feeling of like you can actually have like an attack made on your person, where someone will just make a whole bunch of images and then tag your name.
Oh, let's not even get into that.
No, I won't.
We're just in the nightmare territory.
Like
at that point.
that's, I feel like this.
This is hard.
I love this is the real deal.
Oh yeah, I'd put these little self-portraits for every year. It's funny. It's very telling.
What's going through Victor's head?
Yeah, you
Yeah.
have like maybe that's a good closing statement.
Yeah.
Here you have like edgy college, like here's my dark side. I'm depressed, and also
I can be your angel or your devil.
oh my god.
I'm sorry.
and it's easy to like pick fun at this kid with 10 years of hindsight, but I also want to acknowledge like I have the compassion to like see where I was during these years and be like, that was real for me at the time.
Yeah.
I was really struggling, like
Yeah.
mentally or otherwise. So it's like I'm poking fun at it now, but I'm doing so lovingly, and I empathize with, you know, this Victor who was struggling. And
It's just like, if this Victor didn't go on, even though that there was so much things, because like obviously when you say I got an internship and then I got this and I got this, like those opportunities came at the cost of an enormous workload that you subject yourself to actually acquire that skill, even leading up to this point, right, of being in school.
Yeah.
And so if this kid didn't run himself ragged to the point of collapse,
I mean, I'll stop you there because
Okay, maybe not
I
collapse.
I definitely saw people who would like grind or
Yeah,
like
yeah,
run
yeah.
themselves ragged. I've been getting 9 hours of sleep every day of my life since as long as I can remember. I was always good at like moderation in terms of like I don't wear myself to the bone, but I do care deeply about this stuff, and it definitely runs in my mind. You know what I mean?
Then the sleep is the key. So
Yeah.
everyone here, do a
Get
lot
your sleep.
and get your sleep.
Get your sleep. But I think it's telling that my self-portraits for a long time sort of featured this like personification of depression, which I drew as this like grinning demon, and that's existed. I mean, there's one from 2012.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
And he's still with me here to the point where he's literally blinding me,
Yeah.
right? Here we have a tumultuous, sort of angry-looking portrait of a young man, but I think that's just my eyebrows. I'm not actually angry. This one, the depression starts coming back in the form of like a sort of sad little after-image sketch here. And I think this is the year where I'm traveling back and forth between LA and San Francisco, and I can tell because this guy is like lost who he is. I sort of have this like mismatched, like my haircut is unintentional. I have this like sort of fun shirt, but it's in like a jean jacket. Like none of it sort of fits together, and this guy's not expressing himself. He's sort of awkward. There's an awkwardness there and a frustration underneath the surface, and you can tell because once I get out of it, like it's much more streamlined and sleek and sexy and like owning the darkness. Like this person is wielding the night, wielding the universe.
Did you actually have a septum?
I had a septum piercing.
Cool.
I was wearing these like flashy earrings all the time. I have like cool, sexy LA haircut.
Yeah, this is LA.
Yeah, this guy's a vibe. And we didn't really go into like all the personal work at all, but I think it bears it out too, where there's like a lot of frustration in these sketches, and then here there's a lot more play and like sort of like
it's really dramatic, the difference between like these ones here and like if you just go up like even one year earlier as well, like there's like the how like you employ darkness to kind of like have this like almost crushing social weight of people.
So I mean it was coming out one way or another, and there's like moments of joy in all of these, but overall it's quite dark. And then here I'm like back to sort of like having fun. There's like my childhood games, there's like more colorful pops of color. I'm not afraid to wield saturation, like
amazing,
having so much fun with these like statues. And but then of course COVID kind of sucked ass, and then I couldn't find a portrait for this year, so I picked this one. I think that's nice. And then this one as well. This you'll never believe it, but this was like this was one of the times I was the happiest in my life when I painted this. But I just wanted to draw a grumpy face. I don't know why. And then to the point where like after doing this one, I drew this one. I was like, okay, this time I'm gonna show that I'm happy. And then after I drew this, I was like, I know why no one ever draws themselves with a smile, because it looks so dumb. I don't know why. You can't be smiling in a portrait. It looks fucking stupid. So then I drew this one. I was like, let's balance it out.
It shows my true inner world.
So I was like, okay, no more smiles. And then 2024, again, happy as a clam, but looking kind of somber. And then I need to do one this year, but with like Enzo or something.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah.
But I'm actually quite happy, believe it or not. I've like integrated my shadow.
No, I mean, I feel definitely like, just knowing you for the last year in person, and like really like, talking things out and like knowing what's coming for you, like going ahead and like what you've been working on, like just like, the, like, I'm not going to say that in front of a camera. Oh, we're out of time. Exactly. Okay. I'm going to closing statement, but I just feel like I felt very much like in a way, because your work has been so professionally aligned, then I think I haven't necessarily like kept an eye on it, because it's not necessarily like I'm not going like it's just Riot Games, but I'm not interested in the splash art necessarily as a thing. But I have followed your work for a very long time, like pretty much from the beginning, because of Zach,
right?
And him just being like, hey, like rest in peace, Zach. No, he's not dead. He could just use some sleep.
He lives in Texas.
He lives in Texas. God bless that big man's heart. But like this feeling of kind of like seeing how you're opening yourself up also to kind of like a new way of working for your own sake as well, and how like now the child is in the question as well of like
Yeah.
you have like
Yeah.
a responsibility to also make something that is sustainable for yourself, that you
Yeah.
can actually show up. Because I mean, to me, when I had my own, like, it was really like, oh, I only have
Yeah.
these hours.
Yeah. Like 5-6 hours a day to work.
Yeah, and so I'm like, and so
Better
But-
make it count.
because I mean, I definitely have big memories of like being young and like, oh yeah, I just have all this time and no responsibilities, yada. And I
Yeah.
would have these 12-hour work days where I would work super hard to find out which of those 12 hours, the 3 hours, was actually productive.
Yes. Super relatable.
Like it's just like, oh, I could just sit in the chair forever, but in a way being forced away from it because of like now I'm living my life. It's almost like now I get a chance to really meet the work in
Yeah.
a complete different space, because I'm like, oh, if I want to do it, it's not just like it's not
free.
yeah,
It's like every hour is bought and paid for by your wife watching the kid,
exactly.
or you having, ordered takeout to buy yourself another 30 minutes. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like it's valuable. It has value.
And I feel like that like expression of like, okay, I want to do something that is just like for my sake, for something that I'm working on, that I'm pushing forward, what I'm doing with, like I'm noticing in my own work how, because now also you're a teacher,
Yeah.
and so you have much more time, because like one thing is being the leader,
Yeah.
and now it's like you're actually teaching. And I think the question I would get, I would want to ask you is there a piece of advice that you feel applied to you in the beginning that doesn't apply to you anymore? Like where you think something, you think like, this was really important to me now, but maybe it was like like a roadblock, or it was kind of like something that you then had to overcome, like the advice itself.
I think just leverage where you're at on this timeline. Like it's easier to see in hindsight than when you're in it. But like, okay, you're in your early 20s. Fuck it, you have all the time in the world. Work hard, be a sponge, be humble, learn from as many people as you can. Find the person doing the job you want, learn from them directly if you can, and be open to experiences, like make mistakes, have failures, whatever. And then as your life changes, as you take on responsibility and as your priorities change, like be open to that. Don't fear that change, because I think for like, especially in the middle of this graph, so to speak, there was a ton of tension with me fearing I was losing my artistic identity by taking a step back, or like taking a step to the left or to the right. You're like, if I stop doing splash art, do I cease to exist in the artistic world?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
It's easy to like look back and be like, cool, like Arcane was awesome.
Yeah, of course it worked out, but like
Yeah.
you don't know.
In the moment, you don't know. You
yeah.
never know. And that's the thing, is like, that's really just okay, because you're only ever taking the next step, and then who knows what's going to happen in 5 years, in 10 years, in 20 years. Like the point is, if in 10 years you're still drawing and having fun, you've probably won.
Yeah.
And that's how I feel. And
Yeah.
but it didn't always feel that way. Like 3 years into doing splash art, moving off of that, I was terrified. Or like doing less personal work, I was like, oh, like, am I losing my soul? It's like I was tremendously worried at every step of the way, when really, like, you have to sort of trust your internal wisdom of like, your body knows what it can and can't do, what's important, what's not. You can't really compare yourself to others, even though you will.
Yeah.
And that in the long run, it works itself out. At least it has for me.
That's amazing.
Maybe we can end on that.
I think that's a good note. Thank you so much, Victor.
Dude,
Yeah.
thank you, Jonathan.
Appreciate it.
Fun.
Awesome. Okay. Okay. Let's stop the recording here.